Welcome back. Police quotas, plunging morale, and fear of retaliation. A former NYPD officer says the department has problems that directly affect minority communities. Here's Alicia Nieves.
My name is Detective Waller, and I wore this uniform for close to 22 years.
Derek Waller joined the New York Police Department in 1995.
I loved being a police officer.
He started out as a street cop, then undercover, and eventually retired in 2018 as a detective.
I love helping with their problems, and I was fortunate enough to work in the communities of color, which I thought I could serve best.
While he loved being a police officer, there were some things about the job he didn't agree with.
Police department is basically a business. It's a business like you work at Macy's, you got to sell. You come to work, you're a police officer, you got to bring in bodies. Let's say you have your company commander of your precinct. He basically gets promoted depending on how many arrests he gets.
Waller says he saw some officers over-policing, especially in communities of color, for the purpose of promotions, higher pay, or because of pressure to fill unofficial arrest quotas.
But there's so many amazing officers that just want to do right, but with that pressure on them, how can they?
Detective Waller spent the last few years of his career at this precinct and says it was here where he learned firsthand why it's so difficult for many officers to speak up when they see another officer potentially doing something wrong, or when they see potential problems with the department's policing.
A lot of officers, they want to speak out, but they're so afraid of the retaliation.
Waller spoke out publicly about police officers being pressured to fill arrest quotas. He went from being named Officer of the Month to being written up and ridiculed.
I would come back after my days off and my locker would be flipped over. They put like big rat posters on your desk and all kind of stuff.
Breaking through the often referred to blue wall of silence, he said made the last few years of his career tough. But he still left the job hopeful that improvements with policing could come. Because above all,
there are many officers who love the job, and they are good officers. Many, more than not. Right now, the definition of a good officer is the one who brings in those arrests. If we could change the definition, then maybe we can change the mentality of the actual police department.
His definition, a good officer is one who is respected, but not feared in their community. For The Race, I'm Alicia Nieves reporting.
Police training is a major part of the discussion when we look at the role that police play in our society. And as Amanda Brandeis shows us, there's a department that's retraining its officers to be guardians.
I think the murder of George Floyd was a watershed incident.
One that ignited a pain now plastered on city signs and streets.
Because there was no way to explain it away by a rapidly evolving situation with split-second decision-making. It wasn't that. What it portrayed was just a callous disregard for a human being.
A 36-year law enforcement veteran, Sue Rahr worked her way up the ranks to Sheriff of King County, home to Seattle. The final years of her career have been at the state's training academy, where she brought a new mindset.
Looking at yourself as a guardian in the community rather than a warrior coming in to fight a war.
Let's move forward.
Recruits still learn the necessary skills for policing, from firearms to defensive tactics. But Rahr says that's just one piece of a complex equation.
The importance of procedural justice, communication, emotional intelligence, all of those things that contribute to building trust.
I just came to pick up some formula and some diapers.
In this training exercise, a man is caught shoplifting. Officers learn he recently lost his job and has no criminal history, but stole the diapers in a moment of despair.
Discretion is a huge part of our job. You do have legal authority to arrest him, but just because you can doesn't mean you should.
What's your name? De-escalation tactics are at the forefront of training.
Managing pace of the encounter, managing speed.
But training at the academy only goes so far.
Once we send them out of here, they're going to an agency that might have a different culture, which culture is deep-seated. They may have a different outlook on training.
A new state law hopes to address this problem. Sean Hendrickson is leading the effort to teach enhanced de-escalation tactics to recruits and veteran officers statewide.
The real goal is from day one of starting the academy until the day you retire, you get one consistent message. And as far as I know, at least in this state, that has never been done before.
The new law also tackles another complex layer.
10 years ago, all of us in law enforcement, myself included, were very uncomfortable talking about race.
The Training Commission is developing an extensive curriculum on the history of race in policing.
The historical roots of how our system is structured.
As efforts to defund the police gain momentum nationwide, Hendrickson worries training budgets will be the first to go.
Police officers need more training, but that requires time and money, and is probably not the message that most people want to hear.
The state of Washington requires 720 hours of training at the academy. Compare that to 1,600 hours required to get a cosmetology license in the state.
My opinion is that police officers are woefully undertrained to meet the current expectation of the community.
But with the nation's deep wounds reopened, Hendrickson is hopeful the state's new training efforts could one day help in healing. For The Race, I'm Amanda Brandeis reporting.
The race continues next.